Hello everyone, it is Laughing Games here. I'm back with another episode of my tournament plays. I believe I decided to call it I Played a Tournament. So, I'm going to be continuing on from that last game that I cast. It's going to be me versus Salvanth in a TVP. This time it's going to be on Acid Plant, as we played a best of three, so we're going to see how well this went for me. We're going to review my games, review my play, see how it just try and improve. This is sort of the point of this. So, last game I opened up with something a little bit cheeky here. So I went for the proxy racks. Now this map is Acid Plant, so it's not really feasible to go for something like just like the one Reaper harassment with the proxy barracks. So I decided I'd open up at home, just sort of play, see how it goes. I do have a bit of a tough time macroing versus Protoss. I have a hard time knowing what sort of builds to go for. Sometimes I go for things like tank pushes and whatnot. I do decide to go for an SCV scout, just to see where my opponent is at. My opponent's going for a gateway double gas, so he was planning on opening up with things a little bit aggressive here. And I mean, you can certainly tell that's the case in this game, as he did move out with a probe, and he is going to throw down a proxy. So, I mean, I probably, or maybe I did actually see his probe. I guess I bumped into his first one there. That was just heading home. This other one, did I see this? Oh, okay, so, I mean, if we identify the first mistake in this game for me, it was not seeing the second probe moving out on my minimap. If I was paying attention to my minimap, I would have seen that I passed two probes, which is a little bit suspicious in a StarCraft 2 game. I mean, usually your opponent just scouts with one, and he did move in with his one probe, and I was pretty foolish. The fact that I didn't see that, I saw he had no expo, I thought, right, I'll eBay block him, but he was already preparing to throw down a proxy here. So, I'm trying to be a little bit cheeky, but ultimately this isn't going to pay off for me. I mean, an eBay block, yeah, it stops your opponent expanding, but if you're in trouble there. Now, I see that my opponent hasn't gone for an expansion here, so I'm a little bit worried. I mean, I'm not too sure what he's up to. So, I don't actually throw up my CC. Well, I do actually plan on throwing up my CC there, pardon me. So, okay, I'm a little bit confused in this game. So, I scout out my opponent here, and I see that he hasn't gotten anything back at home, so alarm bells are going off in my head. I'm wondering, where's this proxy that this is going for? And he's actually going, this is a bit of karma here. This is a proxy that I do when I play Protoss. The double robo proxy, something that I play, something that I enjoy doing here. So I'm building my command center. Now, I have not yet identified what kind of proxy it is. I send the Reaper across the map. My opponent's making a Stalker though, so my Reaper's not going to get too much done there. I come in, I'll maybe get a probe or two, I'm not quite sure with this. I believe, yeah, so I'll likely get a probe, but I mean, I'm still not aware of what my opponent's gone for. I have not scouted it, and I will lose my scouting Reaper. Fortunately, I go for an SCV scout, and I see the double robo, and I just think, oh god, how on earth am I supposed to deal with this? I've already begun throwing up an engineering bay, which was partially in case it was going to be something like DTs, and I start producing Marines, and I have a factory. Now, it's sort of tough to choose what to make versus a proxy robo, in my opinion. I mean, the best thing I could have done would have been to identify that this build was happening much sooner. So I immediately start throwing up a bunker on the low ground, but then once I do clue into the fact that it's proxy robo, I will cancel his bunker, lift off my CC. There's no way I'm holding the low ground there. So I'm just focusing on defending my main. Now, I decide to go for a Widow Mine because my opponent isn't likely going to have detection. He will have a Warp Prism, yes, because I know exactly what build he's doing, but he won't have detection. So I throw up my Widow Mine up top here, and then I move my Marines back. Now, this game could have gone a lot better for me here if I had been prepared for something like this. So my opponent, he's got the Warp Prism, he's got the double robos, and he's going to fly directly right on into this Widow Mine here. Here we go. There it goes. But ultimately, Widow Mines do not one-shot Warp Prisms. The mine is revealed because it's the latest patch. Now, if I had some Marines there and I picked off the Warp Prism, this would have gone a lot better for me. The second barracks I had begun building, it's going to get canceled here. I had a Cyclone, but it was unfortunately misrallied on top of this. So that was a big mistake there. I could have gone a lot better. I'm forced to retreat, so I'm bleeding off Marines here. This guy's getting exactly what he wanted in this game. I'm going to begin producing a siege tank as quick as I can. Forced to pull SCVs for the first time in this game. Meanwhile, my opponent just churning out these Immortals. Any unit that I can pick off is important for me. My opponent is doing whatever, so I may get an Immortal here, I do, but he'll pick up and save the second one. So I need to keep producing Marines, and then I need to get up a siege tank. I need to make sure I'm always dropping mules, because I've had to pull a few SCVs to defend this. My opponent, he's now got this Warp Prism. I try and pick it off, but ultimately I just eat a few shots there. I've got a few more Marines coming in. SCVs are pulled once again there. So my opponent is slaughtering my workers right now. We're actually pretty equal for the time being. I'm just trying to do my best to fight my opponent. I pick off another immortal, which is nice, but at this point, most of my marines are dead here. If I can just clean them up for just this one time, I'll be in a much better situation now. I know my opponent's going to the north there, because I knew he'd just try and relay and do that sort of fancy micro there. I may get an immortal here. No, he keeps it alive. Now, I've got a siege tank out. Now, siege tanks, they are not good versus immortals, but the point of the siege tank was the zoning here. This is why I've kept my SCVs pulled, so that I can try and defend it, but then I do send my SCVs back, and my opponent begins pushing at the front. So my opponent's got immortals. He's going to try and snipe off my siege tank here. I will get the warp prism, I believe. I do get it. However, he comes in, he gets the siege tank, and I get a good surround on these immortals with the SCVs. So I will clean up those 2 immortals. Now, my main mistake right now, well, I guess it's really not having enough resources. I should have not made these 2 extra marines here. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in this defense. I should have not made these 2 extra marines here. I shouldn't have had them queued up. This was 100 minerals sitting, doing absolutely nothing, where I should have been building another siege tank right now, because that other siege tank, it forced him to commit on top of it. But ultimately, I don't have enough, and then I'm pulling SCVs to try and take care of this, to try and hold this immortal, stop it from poking. My opponent, so he's just going to be poking in the front, as I did kill off his warp prism, but I believe he'll start another one relatively soon. And I mean, I'm down on workers, but not too far at this point. But if I had another siege tank sooner, I would have been in a much better situation right now. I'm still just producing marines. I have another barracks up. I'm going to eventually aim to try and get stim out. It was a little ambitious. Might have been better if I had just begun producing more and more marines till I know I'm safe. So I'm going to have a siege tank popping out relatively soon. However, this is where this is a pretty deciding fight in this game. If you guys have guessed, I do end up losing this game at this point. I mean, my opponent's cheese works a bit of my own medicine. So what's going on is I pull the SCVs. However, I sort of just haphazardly pulled them, didn't pull them actually close enough. So the SCVs are going to begin tanking. I have the siege tank out. However, my opponent will just be able to simply right-click on it. One of the immortals goes down. I'm getting a surround on most of the immortals here, and my opponent does not have a warp prism. So my opponent's just slaughtering my SCVs, but now his warp prism is actually going to come in, so he can save some of these immortals here. I'll get one of the immortals, but I've already bled off another 7 SCVs. I haven't been producing them constantly enough, and right now, the main blow right now is that I'm not producing anything, not another siege tank, no more marines, and with that, I'm in a pretty tough situation right now, because he's got another warp prism. I do eventually get enough resources to produce another siege tank, and then I try and repair up some of my SCVs. Figure that's a good use if I have a stronger buffer here. My opponent sees me there and he pulls out. I guess I can speed this back up. I mean, the fun fact about this game, it was actually exactly as long as the one my opponent cheesed me, but at this point I'm bleeding off some marines. I pull the SCVs, but I'm down to 2 marines versus 3 immortals, so that's a bit of a sad story. I have a few more popping out, but at this point I'm down to 5 workers here, so it's really just not enough at this point. The immortals overpower my remaining SCVs. I have a siege tank pop out, so I can pick off one of the last immortals, but my opponent's just keeping on trucking. Yes, he was stuck on one base, but no, I did not survive, unfortunately. So this is where I tap out, and GG gets called. So the point of this series, guys, is to make sure that I try and learn from my mistakes. I sort of pointed out a few of them. The main one, really not identifying that scout, and then I made the few micro mistakes there, trying to defend this cheese. Well played to my opponent. I mean, giving me a taste of my own medicine. I cheesed him in the last video, but then we're going to see how the next match is going to go. And I'll put that on my channel relatively soon, so make sure to tune in. If you aren't already subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And if you do like the video, I'm trying to hit 5 likes on every video, so feel free to please leave a like. Otherwise, I shall see you guys next time.